In a quiet little village, surrounded by soft hills and fields that swayed like golden oceans, there lived an old woman known to everyone simply as Grandmother. No one remembered her real name anymore, maybe because she had lived there longer than any of them, or maybe because the name Grandmother suited her perfectly. She had a face full of soft wrinkles, like gentle lines drawn by time itself, and yet her smile made her look warm and bright. Whether the sky was shining blue or the clouds hung low with rain, she always seemed peaceful. If someone was sad, they went to her. If someone was confused, they sat with her. Her words were never many, but they always felt like warm tea on a cold day, simple, soothing, and somehow exactly what a person needed. One afternoon, as the sun was dipping low and the village air smelled of earth and wood smoke, a young woman came to see her. Her steps were slow, her shoulders heavy. Her eyes were red, as if she had been crying for a long time. When she reached the old woman's small clay house, she sat beside her without saying much. For a while, they simply sat in silence. Birds chirped in the distance. The small oil lamp beside them flickered softly. Finally, the young woman spoke in a weak voice. "Grandmother," she whispered, "how are you always happy? No matter what happens, you never look sad. Don't you ever feel bad when things go wrong?" The old woman didn't answer right away. Instead, she poured a cup of warm tea and placed it gently in the girl's hands. Only then did she speak. "My dear," she said softly, "happiness does not come from what happens around us. It comes from what we carry inside." The young woman frowned, confused. "I don't understand," she said quietly. "When bad things happen, how can anyone stay happy? How do you do it?" The old woman's eyes moved to the oil lamp beside them. Its tiny flame danced gracefully in the soft breeze. "Let me tell you something," she said, her voice low, almost like she was speaking to a memory. "When I was young, I had a husband and children. We were poor, very poor. Our roof leaked in the rain, and sometimes we had only bread to eat. But our home was filled with laughter. Our happiness did not come from things, it came from love." She paused, and for a moment her eyes looked far away, as if she could still see those days. "But one day," she continued quietly, "my husband fell very sick." The young woman's breath caught in her throat. "We tried everything," the old woman said. "Every herb, every village remedy, but we had no money for proper treatment. His condition grew worse day by day. I felt like sand was slipping through my fingers, and I couldn't hold it no matter how hard I tried." Her voice trembled just a little, like the flame of the lamp. "When he finally left this world," she whispered, "I thought my heart would break in two. I cried for days. I cried for nights. And for a long time, I believed there was no light left in my life." The young woman listened, silent and died. She had never imagined that the peaceful old woman had suffered so deeply. "But," the old woman continued, taking a slow breath, "one morning, my youngest child came to me. He touched my hand and said, 'Mama, are you going to be sad forever?'" Her voice softened. In that moment, I realized something. My tears would not bring my husband back, but my children needed me. They needed my strength, my warmth, my love. So I wiped my tears. I stood up, and I decided to live again. The old woman smiled gently as she touched the tiny lamp. "Every morning since that day," she said, "I light this flame, and I tell myself this is a new day. I choose to find one reason to smile." She looked at the young woman and added, "Some days that reason is big. Some days it is small, but there is always something. Maybe the sun shining through the window, maybe the song of a bird, maybe a kind word from a stranger." The young woman stared at the lamp. Its flame flickered softly, but it never went out. "But grandmother," she asked, her voice trembling slightly, "what if something truly bad happens again? How can a person stay happy then? The old woman nodded slowly, as if she had expected this question. It is not easy, she said gently. When pain comes, we feel it, and that is okay, but I remind myself, nothing lasts forever. Good times change, bad times change, life moves, and even in the darkest moment, there is still something to hold on to, my health, a memory, a friend, a hope, the simple gift of being alive. She smiled softly. Happiness, my dear, she whispered, is a choice we make every day. The young woman sat quietly beside her, watching the steady glow of the little lamp. And for the first time in many days, she smiled. That night, the young woman walked home slowly, her heart full of thoughts. The sky above was clear, sprinkled with countless stars, shining like tiny lamps in the dark. She kept remembering the old woman's words, especially the one sentence that echoed in her mind. Happiness is a choice we make every day. When she reached home, she noticed something she had never paid attention to before. In the corner of her small room, there was a little oil lamp. Dusty, unused, almost forgotten. She didn't even remember when she had bought it. For a moment, she simply stared at it. Then, with a deep breath, she picked it up, cleaned it carefully, and lit it for the first time in years. A tiny flame rose, golden and soft, just like the one at grandmother's house. She whispered the same words the old woman had spoken. This is a new day. I will find one reason to smile. At first, the reasons were small, almost too small to notice. The cool morning breeze brushing against her face. The laughter of children playing in the narrow lanes. The smell of fresh bread from the village bakery. The gentle sound of a cowbell in the distance. The warmth of sunlight on her hands. She began writing these small reasons down on a tiny slip of paper every night. It became a habit, one that slowly began to change her. She didn't become perfectly happy all of a sudden. Some days were still heavy. Some nights she still cried. But every time sadness tried to take over, she would look at the little flame of her lamp and remember, nothing lasts forever, not even pain. And slowly her heart began to heal. A change noticed by others. Weeks passed, then months. The young woman's face, which once carried the weight of sadness, began to lighten. Her smile returned, not a loud or forced one, but a quiet, peaceful smile. She spoke gently. She listened carefully. She walked with calmness. People in the village began to notice. How did she become so peaceful? Where did her sadness go? She looks different now, calmer, stronger. Women would come to her, just as they once went to the old grandmother, asking quietly, "How do you stay so hopeful, even when life gets difficult?" At first, the young woman would hesitate, unsure if she was worthy of giving advice. But then she would remember grandmother's voice, warm and steady. So she began telling them softly, happiness does not come from the world around us. It begins inside our hearts. Some people understood at once. Others needed time. Some didn't believe her. But slowly, just as the old woman's wisdom had touched her, the young woman's words began touching others. The village transforms. The change spread like a soft breeze across the village. The potter who always complained about his clay suddenly began to appreciate the shape of every pot he made. The shepherd who used to shout at his sheep now hummed tunes while walking through the fields. The tailor who used to get angry at every mistake learned to breathe deeply and say, "Tomorrow will be better." Even the children learned something new. They began leaving small flowers on their mother's windowsills as little reasons to smile. The whole village started to feel lighter, warmer, more connected. It was as if a small flame of peace had been lit in everyone's heart, passing from one person to another, just like the flame of an oil lamp passed from wick to wick. A visit to grandmother one beautiful evening, after many months. the young woman returned to the old grandmother's house. The sky was painted with soft orange clouds, and the air smelled of jasmine. Grandmother was sitting outside, weaving a basket, her lamp glowing softly beside her. The young woman sat beside her and smiled. "I came to thank you," she said quietly. "Your words changed my life, and now I see they're changing others too." The old woman's eyes sparkled with warmth. "My dear," she said, "I only shared the light I had. You are the one who carried it forward." The young woman lowered her gaze shyly. Grandmother touched her hand gently. "Do you know the secret?" she asked. "What secret?" the young woman asked, curious. The old woman smiled. "When one heart carries peace, it becomes a lamp for many, just as one flame can light hundreds of others without losing its own glow." The young woman felt tears form in her eyes, tears not of sadness, but of understanding. A new beginning. When she reached home that evening, she lit her lamp again. This time the flame looked a little brighter. She whispered her familiar words, "This is a new day. I will find one reason to smile." But tonight she already knew her reason. Her reason was the light she now carried inside, a light that had begun with one old woman and her little oil lamp, a light that had now spread through the entire village, a light that would never fade.